Welcome to another video on panic disorder. This video is going to be an exercise. There's different ways of doing this exercise. The class of this exercise is exposure. That's, I guess, what we would call it. There is a fancier way of referring to it. It's the fancy version is interoceptive exposure. What that really means is we have to make a distinction between different kinds of exposures, right? There's exposure to the outside world. So let's say I'm scared of this soda can. That's one kind of exposure. I have to expose myself to the soda can in order to overcome my fear. And then there is the internal fear stuff, right? So that's what panic disorder is. Panic is being afraid of the stuff on the inside. Now, I'm not sure whether you're aware of this or not. Not everybody is aware that this is how their panic functions. I think most people are to some degree, but not everybody is. So if you really look at your if you really study your panic, you'll realize that you have internal triggers. You get set off, your panic gets set off by how your body feels, right? Maybe you make interpretations about it. Maybe you say to yourself, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with my health, right? So you insert some health related concern. Or maybe you just say, oh my gosh, panic attack is coming. Oh my God, I'm about to have one. And that freaks you out, and that causes you another layer of fear. And then that next layer of fear tells you that, oh my God, it is happening after all. And that freaks you out even more, and it just on and on and on and on and on it goes, right? So what we have to do is we have to get rid of those responses. So that's what this exercise is going to be about, okay? So I hope you're ready. Ready, Freddy. Let's get into this exercise. So before we get in, I do have to say one thing. It is possible. I don't want somebody yelling at me. You did this to me. It is possible that this might set off a panic attack. That's not our goal. We're not trying to set off a panic attack. We're trying to help you tolerate the sensations associated with a panic attack, but we're not trying necessarily to set off a panic attack. But I have to tell you this because, it's a possibility. I mean, if you're not ready to willfully enter a territory where you might set off a panic attack, then this is not your video. This is not a video for you. You're not yet ready to do this step. But if you are ready, then we'll continue, okay? If you're not ready to do this step, by the way, what I recommend is, first of all, leave me a comment. Let me know that you weren't ready. You weren't ready and you clicked off. Tell me some of your concerns. Tell me what are your worst fears. And then go and check out my other videos, because by listening to the other videos about panic, that might work you up to that place. You might be ready to do this, okay? So, all right, I'm assuming everyone has given their consent and said, okay, I'm willing to take the risk. Great, so let's do that. What we're gonna do is we're going to do body focus, okay? So you might as well, right now, start shifting your attention to your body. And start noticing anything and everything that you feel. Everything counts. It could be an itch. It could be a ache and pain. It could be pressure. So, for example, if you're sitting down like I am right now, you might feel the pressure on your butt from the gravity and your body. Your body is, how it's sitting on the chair. You might notice the pressure at the bottom of your feet. What else do you notice? What else are you aware of? Maybe some of you will be aware of buzzing. There's some kind of buzzing or like energy rolling through your body. Where is it exactly? Where in your body are you feeling that? Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's not energy. Maybe it's tingling. Where? Where do you feel that? Maybe you're aware of pressures. Are you aware of some kind of a pressure? A tension? Where is that? Where in your body do you feel it? Okay, so usually most of the activity, stay connected to your body as I talk to you about this. I'm just gonna fill you in on some information. But you, while I'm talking to you, just continue to pay attention to your body and listening to me with one ear at the same time. most people experience sensations that are related to panic somewhere in their upper torso, and including their face. Face also is a big trigger. More rarely is it located in their legs. Sometimes it is. So what we're gonna do now, just to make sure that we cover every little angle there is, we're gonna scan our upper torso, our upper body, not torso, upper body, carefully and meticulously, in order to identify all the little possible triggers. If after we do this exercise you do not find them, and perhaps you suspect that it's in your lower body, let me know in the comment section, and I will also do a guided version of this exercise just for the lower body. But just to keep this exercise shorter in duration, we're only going to focus on the upper body. So continue to pay attention to your body. If you've noticed that there is some sort of a sensation somewhere out there already, stay focused on that sensation, okay? While you also listen to me. Because now I want to give you some instructions on the kind of attitude that I want you to have as you do this exercise. So as you pay attention to your body, to the sensations in your body, I want you to have the attitude of a biologist, of a scientist, of like an investigator who is not trying to interfere with what's happening. So a scientist, when a scientist designs a study, or when a biologist studies a wild animal on the safari, out there in some safari, maybe some Africa, right? When he's out there, he is taking caution not to interfere with the life of the animal that he's studying, right? He's making sure that when he's watching a lion through his binoculars, that he doesn't make any noise, that he doesn't alert the lion to his presence, because if he does alert the animal to his presence, then he's no longer studying that animal in its natural habitat. This is who you are. You are like that biologist, except instead of a lion, you're observing your own bodily sensations. I want you to take caution that you do not try to interfere with what you're feeling. Now, why am I saying this? Because sometimes when we feel something in our bodies, we react, we judge it. We say to ourselves, oh, I don't like this. And then we try to avoid that sensation, or we try to minimize that sensation. Or if something starts changing in our bodies, we don't allow it to. We resist it, right? We don't act like that good biologist, right? So a good biologist, when the lion moves, the biologist makes sure that it continues to not be seen. He does everything he can to not get in the way of the lion, right? He does not want to get in the way of the lion. He probably even maybe masks his own scent to make sure that he can't be detected by the lion. This is who you are right now in this exercise. You're paying attention to these sensations, and you're doing your darnest not to interfere with these sensations. You are a distant observer. Okay. So with that attitude in mind, let's begin with the top of your head. So if you have already noticed some sensations in your body, let's just put those on pause for a bit. Not on pause, but you know what I mean. Let's move away from them for now. We'll come back to them later. Let's just do a more thorough scan. So start with the top of your head and notice what you feel. So I recommend you close your eyes, but I will try to guide you to show you what I mean, which sections of your body I mean. So I'll show it on my own head. So top of your head is right here. Most people, it's rare that somebody will say that I feel something. Maybe you will. Who knows? You know, with these bodily expressions of sensations, anything goes. You know, people will have told me all kinds of things. Mostly it happens between, you know, in your upper torso and your upper body. but I've heard all kinds of different variations, so anything is possible. But odds are there'll be nothing there. But still, one thing we gotta be, just like a good biologist, is patient, right? We can't assume that just because at the first glance nothing is happening, that nothing is in fact happening. A good biologist, when he sees the lion in the safari, let's say the lion is laying down, right? A good biologist won't just say, the lion is sleeping and just call it a day. No. A good biologist will study the tiny details that he can spot. So when a lion is laying down, well, is the lion not moving at all? No. Through the binoculars, the biologist can see that the lion's ribcage is expanding, right? The lion inhales and exhales, inhales and exhales. The lion maybe also blinks, right? So there's stuff happening. The lion might also twitch its tail. Maybe it's twitching its tail. So a good biologist will notice these details and patiently, very patiently, study their relationships. Okay, it's twitching its tail. At what rate is it twitching its tail? It's blinking. How often does it blink? It's expanding and shrinking its ribcage. How quickly is it doing that? Is it always staying the same? Is it all the same rate? Is there a relationship between flicking of the tail and breathing and the expansion and contraction of the ribcage? Between blinking? Do you see what I'm saying? So same thing here. We can't be quick to judgment. So that's why we're going to start with something that typically has no action, because I want to get you into that state of mind. So start at the top of your head and notice, what do you feel? Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a shortcut, a little bit of cheat sheet, so to speak. Some of the things to look out for. Now, it could be anything, by the way. Even things that I don't mention, you might still feel them. So don't be shy if you feel something that I don't mention, because the way I describe sensations might not be the way you describe sensations, and the kind of sensations that you experience might not be the kind of sensations that I experience. Okay, so, but commonly people will say that I might be feeling pressure. Maybe I'm feeling a tension, a heaviness. Maybe I'm feeling a pushing. Something's pushing down. Maybe something's pushing in. Maybe something's pushing out. Right? So in your head, I guess that you could say that sometimes some people might describe their headaches as pushing out. Maybe in whatever you're perceiving, in whatever you're sensing, maybe you can see a texture to it. Maybe there is a like a boundary to the sensation. Whatever that you're feeling, maybe there's a boundary, right? So you can maybe like draw a map, so to speak, to surround the sensation. Can you spot that? Do you feel that? It's okay if you don't. The top of the head, like I said before, typically doesn't have much. Sometimes it does, but typically doesn't have much. But those are the things I want you to look out for. Tingling. Tingling is another one. Maybe there's some tingling. Is there depth to the sensation? Right? So as we go on and we scan the rest of your body, look out for these things. Is there depth? Okay? Like if you could draw a 3D model, is there like a 3D model of what you're feeling that you could draw out? So now let's move downwards. I want you to look around your temples. Check around your temples. See if there's anything that you can detect. Any sensation that you can detect. Look around your eyes. Do you feel anything? Your cheeks. Check in with your cheeks. Your nose. Your mouth. Your throat. Check very carefully around your throat. Check the back of your neck. check the base of your skull and the back of your head. Okay, now here's a little tip. What we're looking for is we're looking for something that you have a reaction to. So as we're doing this, note any places. So if you've noticed maybe your eyes can be a little bit more of a common spot. If you notice that someplace where when you pay attention to it, you say to yourself, ugh, I don't like this spot. Or, ooh, this makes me a little nervous. If you're noticing any kind of rise in anxiety or something that you could classify as resistance, make note of that. Like a good biologist, write that down in your book, in your notebook. Okay, we have something here. Interesting, very interesting. And continue onwards. Now let's look at your shoulders. Notice, is there any tension in your shoulders? Is there any pressure? Pushing, pulling, squeezing, pressing down, weighing down. Does it feel heavy? Tingling? Can you see a 3D projection, like a map of what that sensation is? Can you isolate it visually? Is there a color to the sensation? It's okay if there's none of this applies yet. You might not have any sensations in any of the sections that we have covered so far. So we're gonna keep going, just stay patient. But continue to scan, continue to pay attention. Pay very, very close attention. Very, very close attention. Laser focus, okay? Let's check out your chest. Check in with your chest and see if you are feeling anything there. That's usually a more common area where people do start feeling things. Notice, again, all of the things I suggested before, or something different. Pressure, pushing, pulling, squeezing, ripping, pressing in. What can you tell? Is there any sensation in there? Now go down lower, below your chest, maybe like the upper rib cage. Oh, sorry, I guess the lower rib cage. Check on the lower rib cage. You can't see my video, I guess. Yeah, I should have pointed the video lower. But the lower rib cage, check in with that. Check in with the sides. And finally, when you're ready, check in with your stomach. Check in with your abdomen. If you want to pause at any point in time, to take more time to study this, I encourage you to do that. But I'm gonna keep moving. I also want you to check in with your back, your lower back, and your upper back. And again, I encourage you, if you want to pause at any point in time during this video, because you want to study it a little more, and I encourage you strongly to study it more, then please do that. The first time around, if you're doing this for the very first time, maybe it's better if you just go through this exercise fully so you know how it goes, and then on the second run around you can focus more if you want to. Okay, so now what I want you to do is pick the sensation that had the most pronounced resistance. Let's call it that way. Out of all the things that you noticed you were feeling, which one did you find yourself not wanting to pay attention to the most, or resisting the most, or disliking the most? Which one did you find most uncomfortable? That's the one we're gonna have to pay attention to. So now, zero in, zone in, and exclusively pay attention to that spot. like a good biologist, you're right now zoning in on perhaps just the tail of the tiger, or the eyes, the eyelids, or the rising and falling rib cage. Zone in on that feeling and steady it carefully. See if you can focus even more, almost like a magnifying lens. See if you can increase the magnification of your observations and see more detail. Whatever you were feeling before, can you find more ways of describing it? Is there a color to the sensation? Is there a texture? Is there a sound even? Does it feel like, does it seem like there will be a sound that would fit that sensation? And like I was saying before, check if you can draw a boundary around that sensation. Wherever you feel it, like let's say you feel it here somewhere on your chest, can you draw a boundary exactly where it is, right? Is it a boundary, or is it more like a fading out kind of an effect? Kind of like a spotlight that just fades out. How would you rate the intensities of that spotlight, if that's the case, right? It's super intense maybe in the middle? Well, is the intensity, can you distinguish the sizes of the intensities? So perhaps in the very center, how big is the center? Because it could be this, the center could be this big. I'm sorry, let me show it like this. Could be this big, could be this big, could be this big. How big is the center, right? At which point can you tell that it's easing up, right? If the center is, let's say, this big, how far out do you have to go where you can tell, okay, it's a little lighter this far out from the center? Just an example in case that's how you're experiencing your sensation. If you're not experiencing the sensation the way I'm describing it right now, that's okay. It just doesn't apply to you at this moment. I just want you to define it a little better, define it a little further. So keep doing that. Take a moment to do that right now. If at any point in time you feel too anxious, you can pause the video and distract yourself with something. If you don't know how to distract yourself, I recommend box breathing. If you don't know how to do box breathing, well, you can Google that or check out one of my videos. Box breathing is when you count to 4 inhalation, you hold it for another 4, you exhale for 4, you hold the exhalation for 4, and you repeat this process 4 times. So if you want, you can try that to just to calm down if you are finding yourself getting too worked up. If not, if you feel comfortable with whatever's happening with what you're experiencing, if you're feeling comfortable with your present experience, perfect. We just want to keep you right here. Stay focused on that sensation. Stay right there. Now, again, this is a point where if you like, you can pause the video and take more time, because the next thing we're going to do is we're going to switch gears. We're still going to be a scientist, but now we're going to be experimenters. We're going to start experimenting with it. But you can pause the video if you want to kind of like pat this down, if you want to solidify your observation, study this more, make sure that you've observed everything there is to observe about this, then pause the video and take as much time as you want to do that. Okay, so now we're gonna switch into the experiment. So continue to observe the sensation, and what we're gonna do now is we're gonna see how it behaves. We want to see if it changes with time. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to observe it for movements. Does it seem to shrink or expand? We're going to give it permission. It's like if you imagine that sensation being locked up surrounded by gates, we're gonna open up all the gates for that sensation. So whatever it's doing, if it's squeezing, pulling, pressing, whatever, hurting, tingling, whatever it is doing, when you're ready, you're gonna give it full permission to do everything that it wants to do. If it wants to get bigger, allow it to get bigger. If it wants to get more intense, allow it to get more intense. If it wants to move to another part of your body, allow it to move to another part of your body. If it wants to spread to all over your body, allow it. Give it the freedom to spread all over your body. If it wants to shrink, allow it to shrink. If it wants to go away, disappear completely, allow it to do that. Give it full freedom. So I want you to do that now. Give it full freedom. Encourage it to do what it wants to do. And see what happens. If you want, you can pause the video here. Give this a couple of minutes and see what happens. Make sure that you're giving it all the freedom. Make sure that you are getting out of its way. Make sure you're allowing it to do what it wants to do. Very good. What I would recommend is right now that you pause the video and take more time to do this. Take a little bit more time to observe it. I'm just looking at the clock, and I don't want to have the video be intimidatingly long so that people don't end up not clicking on it because of how freakishly long the video is. But this process does take a long time. Yes, this will take an entire session. So I usually do between 45 to an hour-minute sessions, and this can take up an entire session because that's how meticulous we want to be. So I want to encourage you to pause the video, continue to do this, and when you feel like you've had enough, come back, because I'm about to say something to you. So take the moment to pause now. Okay, I'm assuming you all have unpaused. What I'm hoping you have experienced is some form of a release from that, whatever it is that you were feeling in your body. If you have experienced some form of a release, then you have experienced a small version of a surrender. You've experienced a small version of giving in to the experience. You allowed it to be how it wants to be. Now, if your experience got more intense and you felt only more anxiety, that's because you were resisting it. You became afraid. You weren't ready to give in. By resisting it, by being too scared and not being ready to allow it to do what it wants to do, you start bringing up your guard. Right? You start going, oh no, I'm afraid of what's going to happen. And that's a sign that you're not quite there yet, and you have to keep working on this. And so keep watching my videos, because eventually you will get there. Eventually you will get there. Maybe what you'll have to do is slow down this process, right? So one thing I recommend is, if you found your anxiety increasing instead of maybe increasing and then dissipating after some time, maybe what you want to do is think of giving it percentage of permission. So give it 10% permission to do what it wants. Then next day, give it 20%. then 30%, 40%, 50%, 60%, until you get to 100% full permission to do what it wants to do, okay? That's my recommendation if you felt your anxiety increase, okay? So, to those who have experienced a release, some sort of a easing of the symptom, congratulations. You're moving on to the next stage. You have upgraded, you have graduated, you now have, I don't know, if this was like karate class, you now have orange belt or something, I don't know, somewhere halfway, some kind of a halfway point, I don't know the belts. So we're concluding this exercise, so I'm gonna stop talking, I'm gonna stop whispering as though I'm doing a guided meditation. I'm just gonna start talking normally now. So, you know, come back to me, wakey wakey. And yeah, congratulations to those who managed to pull this off. Congratulations. This is a form of surrender. So don't forget this experience. Pat yourself on the back. Pat yourself on the back, because this is not easy. This is a smaller version, much smaller version of, well, I don't know if much smaller, but smaller version of what you will have to do one day to overcome your panic attacks, to end them like that. Memorize this experience. Think back right now. What I want you to do is think back on that experience of it melting away, of when you gave it permission. Memorize that part, the part where you gave it permission, where you allowed it to get as big as it wanted to get. This is very, 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 very important. Let me repeat one more time how important this is. Memorize that felt sense, what it felt like. Don't lose this opportunity. Man, if you had a video camera and could record that sensation, that's what I want you to do. I want you to rehearse it right now. Replay in your head. What did it feel like? How did I do it? What did I say to myself? What kind of things did I say to myself? What seemed to have a bigger impact on me allowing it to do what it wanted to do? What did I do to allow it to do what it wanted to do? What allowed that to happen? Memorize this. And I want you to pause the video again right now and rehearse this like 10 to 20 times. The more you rehearse it, the better off you are, because this is such an important experience, okay? So do that right now, pause the video, and come back to me when you're ready. Okay, so, good, great. To those who struggled, for whom anxiety increased, try that thing I told you about. So try breaking it down. This is gonna be a longer process for you, perhaps. Try to do it by percentages, right? So I'm giving it 10% freedom, 20% freedom, 30% freedom. Try doing it that way. And everybody else in between. So if you maybe felt nothing, leave it in the comment section. Felt nothing. I've come across that. People who say they felt nothing at all in their bodies. That's a tough one. I've not been able to navigate those situations. It's rare, but I've not been able to navigate those situations. People who tell me that they felt nothing, I don't even get it. I don't understand it. But let me know. You know, let me know that should be a minority of individuals. Should be a overwhelming minority. Is that a thing? Overwhelming minority? Anyways, let me know your experiences. Leave it in the comment section. Share with one another. I know this is a long video, so I don't even know how many people will actually do this exercise. Let me know if you did it. I'd be happy to know. I hope that this took you to the next step. I really hope so. And I'll see you in the next video. I'm going to do probably a different version of the same thing on one of these days. But yeah, until then, until that time, see you in the next one. Oh, subscribe. Okay, bye.